Welcome, my dear students. We have here today the costs, and this is lecture number 3 in managerial accounting. And I will start directly with the mathematical approach. Then from there, I will go to the theoretical part. I will start with the mathematical part first. Then from there, I will go to the theoretical part. Anyhow, let us start. If I give you an example like this, and this example, those are the cost information. So we are counting the variable costs. Variable costs are related to the volume of production. The more you will produce, the more the variable costs will be. So if I say as example, a variable cost $10 for 1 unit, then for 2 units it will be 20, for 3 units it will be 30, for 4 units it will be 40. So the variable cost is related to the volume or the size of the production. When we produce more, the variable cost will increase. When we produce less, the variable cost will decrease. So this is the relationship. Here he's giving me the variable costs per unit, 2,400 direct and indirect, and 2,600 and 10,000, all comes to 15,000. So all the variable costs per each unit will be 15,000. For each unit, 15,000. While the fixed cost is 550,000. And one thing else, like I said before in the video, and I will show to you, we have two kinds of costs. We have fixed costs and we have variable costs. The fixed cost, from its name, it never change in the short run. It's always constant. As example, 550, this is FC, means fixed costs. It is all 550, the whole column, because fixed costs in the short run, it never change. It stands still the same. While the variable costs are increasing with the increasing of the production volume. Let's say as example, now each unit will cost $15,000. So on the level of zero production, 0 by 15,000 will give me 0. Okay, then I produce 10 units, 10 by 15,000, 10 by 15,000 will give me 150. Then 20 units I produced, each unit cost me variable costs 15,000, 20 by 15,000, 300,000. Then 30 units I produce, multiply by 15,000, that will give me 450,000. And so on for the rest of the column, the so on. So I will say the volume of production multiplied by 15,000, which is the variable cost for every level. So here I have the variable costs. So in the exam as example, or in the questions, I will give you the variable cost for a unit, and I will give you the volume of production. This column will be given, and the variable cost will be given, and the fixed cost will be given as well. So from there you go. You have the variable cost, you have the fixed cost, and you have the volume of production. So the first thing is to calculate the variable cost. How I calculate it, I will say again. How I calculate it. What I did, I multiplied the numbers of column 2 by the variable costs of column 1, which is giving. Or I might give it to you saying, knowing that the variable cost is 15,000, and peace your mind, okay? Not in a column, outside. And I tell you, the variable cost is 15,000. So no problem. What you will do is you will multiply the volume of production, 0 by 15,000 will give me 0. Total VC means variable cost, 0. 10 by 15,000 give me 150,000. 20 by 15,000 give me 300. 30 by 15,000 will give me 450. 40 by 15,000 will give me 600. and so on for the rest of the column. Okay, now let's move on to the next column, which is the total fixed costs. The total fixed costs. Let us move on to this column. How I will calculate this column? Actually, this column need not to be calculated because it's given to me in the example. In the example, he gave me the total cost for 550,000. Here, 550,000. So, so the numbers are the same? Yes. Why it is the same? Because this is fixed costs. And the meaning of the word fixed costs mean that it will never change. It will stand still the same in the short run. And I am studying in the managerial accounting the case of the short run. So there is a presume that it will never change. So it will keep on 550,000, not up, not down. So I will write 500,000, then I will repeat it on the rest of the column. All the column will be 550,000. Okay. So now I have the variable costs and I have the fixed costs. Okay. Now my time is to calculate the next column. My time is to calculate the next column. So what I will do now on the column number 5, this column, how did I get these numbers? How did I get these numbers? Actually, it's the average of the fixed costs. It is the average of the fixed costs. By other meaning, I will divide the numbers of column number 4 by the numbers of the column number 2 here. Again, I will get the average of the fixed costs by dividing the numbers of the column 4, which is the fixed, divided by the numbers of production. As example, let us say, let us take the first one here, like 550,000 divided by 10. So this will give me 55,000. Then 550,000 divided by, this is the fixed cost, divided by column 2 by 20. This will give me 27,500,000. It's 27,500. Let's go for the next one, which is 550 divided by 30. It will give me 18.333, and so on and so on. Okay. Now, now the rest of this column, the rest of this column will be the same. I will divide all the numbers of column number 4, these numbers, by the numbers of the column number 2. Okay. Now, let us go for the total costs. Total costs will equals the fixed costs and the variable costs. Those will equals the total costs. So what I will do here, I will calculate column number 6 will equals the numbers of column number 3 and the column number 4, because the total costs equals the variable costs and the fixed costs, because total costs, this number, equals to variable cost plus fixed cost all together. So I will go on the same, like I will do the same. So the variable cost for the lever, the first lever, was 0, and 550 for the fixed cost, all will be 550. The second one, the variable cost was 150,000, and the fixed cost was 550,000. This will comes to 700,000. Yeah, and the third and the fourth, the same thing, the same thing. I will go the same thing, the same thing, the same all the way down. As example, let us take this number, the last number. 150,000 is the variable cost, 1,500 is the variable cost, plus the fixed cost, which is 550. The fixed was not changed. Then this number will be 2,050,000. when you say this plus this will give you this, this plus this will give you this, this plus this will give you this, and so on. Okay, the last column is the total costs per unit. How will I get this total cost per unit? It means the total cost divided by the volume of production. The total cost divided by the volume of production. And you have here the numbers of the columns, so this will make it easier for you. So on this level on 550,000, the first point, which was all the total cost 550,000. Now we will divide this numbers, the column number 6, this is the column number 6 numbers, will divide it on the volume of production. Notice that this column is a primary and very important because all the calculus go through this one, the number of the production. Okay, then I want to get the total cost per units. So I will say the total costs divided by the number of units. But wait. On the first, because the fixed cost is fixed, either I produce or the machines are zero level, like here, we don't produce. Zero means we don't produce. So still I'm carrying the fixed cost as well. I will never, even here, look at this, zero, it's 550. Even you produced or you didn't produce, you are carrying totally the fixed costs. In all the cases, you are carrying totally the fixed costs. So the first one will be 550,000 divided by the number of the production. So here I said all the costs divided by the number of the production, then I will carry it on. Okay, let's take 700,000, all the costs 700,000 divided by the number of units, which is number of units produced, which is 10, this 10 divided by this 10, okay, divided by this 10, then it will give me 70,000. Let's go to the next one. All the volume, all the total costs, fixed and variables, all of them are 850,000. Where is the arrow? Here, here. And the number of production is 20 units. Then 850,000 divided by 20 will give me 42,500. Go to the next one. 100,000. The total cost divided by the number of units, 30, 33.333, and so on. Same for the rest of the column. Everything as the way we did. As example, this one, 2,050, three zeros, 2,050,000. We'll divide it by the number of units, which is 100 unit here. Then it will give me the cost will be 20 and 500. I just want you to notice that we have some points here from this figure out after we finish it. First point is that the variable costs are increasing as long as we are increasing in the volume of production. Let's say here the variable cost was 150,000 on the level of 10. When we produced 10 units, the variable costs were 150,000. What is the variable cost? The variable costs are the costs related to the production. As example, the wages. The more I produce, the more I will pay wages. The oil, the hydro, the electricity, the more the machines will work, the more it will take oils and gas, the more I will pay. So the more I produce, the variable costs are increasing. It was zero, then it came up to no, the number of units was zero, it came up to 100, and the variable cost was 150,000, and it came to 1,500,000. So all the variable costs are increasing because variable costs are related to the volume of production. I'm saying again, variable costs are related to the volume of production. Okay. Look at the numbers of the fixed costs. Fixed costs, as we see here, it's fixed means it never change on the short run. Fixed costs like the buildings, the machines, because you bought it once only, on the start of the project itself, and you still going on it with it. The fixed costs are those costs which you pay first, this one, which you pay in the start of the project itself, and the frequency of these decisions, of the decisions of buying like those kind of costs, are very rare. It happens once or twice in the whole life of any plant or production unit. So fixed costs are like what? The fixed costs like the machines, equipments, land, buildings. Okay. But also the fixed costs are those kind of things which you buy as fixed, and it serves to generate more profits. But you didn't buy the building or the land or whatever, or machines. You didn't buy it to sell it back. If you buy it to sell it back, then it won't goes under the title fixed costs or fixed assets. In that case, no. So the fixed costs are costs that you produce or you didn't produce. It's the same. It will never change. As example, look at here. On the size of production, when the production was 0 units, means the machines are not working. Still, I'm carrying the 550,000 of the fixed cost. So the fixed cost is that kind of cost which you will pay either you produce or you didn't produce. Your factory work or did not work. And the other thing that you have to check out of the behavior of the fixed cost, that it is always fixed, means same in the whole column. So as example, if I give you in the exam the first one only, then I left the rest of the column, then you will just copy and paste for the rest of the column. I'm talking about the fixed cost. Then we can say now that while the variable costs are increasing when the size of production or the volume of production is increasing, we find that the fixed cost is the same. It will never change. Let's go to the total cost. The total cost also, when we see the behavior of the total cost, it's increasing. Look at this. It started with 550,000 and it ended in 2,050,000. So it's increasing because one of them is fixed, which is the fixed cost. It does not change, it's constant. And the other one is increasing, which is the variable. And this column is the summation of both together. It's this plus this. Column 3, the variable cost plus the fixed cost. So logically, the total costs will increase, like you see here. It started with 550,000 and it was ended with 2,050,000. Let us go to the last column. And here is the debate and here is the talk. Look at I want to tell you before we see the last column, this column, that the more you produce, the less the total costs will be. The more you produce, the less the total costs. And this is the rule in managerial accounting and in all our decisions. The more you produce, the less the costs are. So here as example, in this column, when you didn't produce anything, you're still paying the 550,000 because you carried the fixed costs, but you didn't carry actually the variable costs. At the same time, look at the second number here, 700,000 total cost. Divide by 10, then the share, if you are producing 10 units, they cost you total cost of 700,000, then how much will cost you each of them? Then you will say 700,000 the total cost, divide by the number of units, which is 10, it will give me 70,000. 70,000. Okay. Go ahead. The more you go down, the less the cost will be. So the cost was 70, then it became 42,500, they became 33,333. Huh? So like you see here, the numbers are decreasing. The numbers are decreasing. Why the numbers are decreasing? Because the volume of production is increasing. the number of units produced is increasing. So this is the rule. The more you produce, the less the costs per unit. You started with $550, $550,000. When you don't produce, then you went for 70,000 per unit when you produce 10 units, 42,500 per unit, the cost per unit when you produce 20 units, then 33,333 when you produce 30 units, and so on. So what I want to say here, that the the share of each product of the total cost will decrease as long as the volume of production will increase. Now we will go to our theoretical part. I think now we understood the accounting part, so it will be easy to understand the theoretical part. So we say we have direct costs and indirect costs, and I'm covering this also in the other video. And we say the direct cost objects are related to the distinct cost object and can be traced. For example, the cost of tires can be readily accumulated from invoices, payments, and the question of inventory. Okay. The indirect costs of a cost of object are necessary but cannot be traced. You cannot hold it to a specific cost. You cannot put it to a specific cost, right? It's called indirect, but you have to distribute it on all the units produced. You cannot relate it directly to one product, but you will just say, huh, I put 100,000 units, so I will put the indirect upon all of them, because the benefit from used the resources are shared. Look at this, are shared among devices cost objects. The cost of shared resources is common to many cost objects, but often the sharing is unequal. For that reason, we do cost allocation, and this to divide up an indirect cost pool unequally and design costs to diverse. Okay, so this is the point, the direct and the indirect cost. Then we move on and talk about the fixed cost and the variable cost. And I will say again, fixed costs never change in the short run. It keep the same. It will never change in the short run. So the fixed cost, you will complete like we did here exactly. Let me remind you here. The fixed cost, we said it's 550,000. Then the rest of the column, all the rest of the column is 550,000, because it does not change. It will never change. And you will pay it. Either you produce or you didn't produce, you will pay it in all the cases. So this is the fixed and the variable costs. So now we came to the variable cost. Like I told you, the fixed cost, like the machines, the equipment, these are the fixed costs. And the variable costs are those costs related to the volume of production. I'm saying again, the more you produce, the more the variable cost should be. Okay. And when we came back, I will say again and again and again, the fixed cost is fixed. The variable costs are increasing because the increase in the production side. Total cost, of course, will increase also because it is the variable cost plus the fixed cost. But the cost per unit will decrease. Cost per unit will decrease when the volume of production increased, like what you saw here. So this was now I want you to go to this example, though it is already done, but I want you to work on it. Just as example, consider this column is not there and try to fix it and to make a solution for it. Thank you so much for listening to me, and wish to see you in the next class. Goodbye, guys. Bye-bye.